Yeah, don't worry about
Hello, Professor Dogan and my colleagues. Today we will be talking about the impact of energy on the economy of the United States of America. The recent geopolitical situation has caused a great turmoil in the world, and the situation is similar to World War I and World War II. Mr. Putin and Russia are trying to change the global world order and cripple the Western economies. And they also want to make sure they defeat NATO. The objective of this particular project is to determine the effect of crude oil and inflation on inflation and natural gas on unemployment and the revenue and profit of oil companies in the United States. We will also determine the pollution index of major countries when they're transiting from fossil fuels to renewable energy. Now my colleague Sharna is going to talk data set and the other aspects of Tableau.
Okay, let me just share the screen. Thank you, Amar. Let's talk about data sources. So we have collected data from different resources and we have put them in several different sheets in one document. Let's look at several tables that we have made. First one contains data about crude oil price, natural gas price, inflation rate, unemployment rate, etc., and all the other factors from year 1970 to 2000. So in another, let's look at table number 2, which contains information about percentage of energy consumption that comes from fossil fuel and renewable energy and low carbon energy in different countries in the world from year 1965 to 2020. We also have data regarding pollution index in several countries from year 1990 to 2019. So we'll talk about this data. We'll talk about these further in next sheets. Now this sheet will be explained by my colleague Shangwa.
Okay, so I'm going to talk about this graph. Yeah, this graph is actually crude oil price and natural gas price. So also you look at two graphs is going together, especially in 2004, there is a major economic growth. So, and those graphs was increased, the price increased together. And in 2008, those are decreased together because there is economic crisis. Next. Okay, here's a bar graph. Once you look at the bar graph, so we're gonna see from in 2000 in 1970. So we can see crude oil price increase and inflation rate and unemployment rate. Those are going together. And next. So for the scatter plot, so there's a scatter plot. So we are talking about like crude oil price per barrel. So and there's a line. So that line is average and those bubbles are surrounded by average and it's up and down. So it depends on what's happening in that year. Next. And for the year-over-year change in inflation rate. So we're gonna see inflation rate, but there is a negative and positive. For the negative, we can see there's deflation, and for the positive will be inflation. So also look at the 2010, there was in 2010, there was a crisis, economic deflation because of economic crisis. And 2016, under Obama administration, inflation was so much high and oil prices was increased, and it resulted in inflation rate, a high inflation rate. Next.
Now let's talk about the bubble chart. In y-axis, we can see the percentage of energy coming from fossil fuel, and in x-axis, we can see percentage of energy coming from the renewable resources. When we go to year 1990, we can see all of the countries which are represented by these bubbles are clustered together at the upper end of the chart. The size of the countries represent the pollution index in the country. So we'll see in the animation that as the countries are moving towards the northeast, the pollution index is reducing significantly. So let's look at the animation. So here, as we can see, as the time goes on, a lot of countries are spreading up towards the northeast direction, which is a good thing, which shows that a lot of countries are moving towards renewable resources and reducing the usage of fossil fuel, which in turn impacts their pollution index. So for example, we can see Denmark. Let's see how it has moved from the upper end to the lower end and move towards the uh, renewable resources. So here's Denmark, and as we can see, it has come from here to here, which is quite a significant change, and also its pollution index has reduced quite a lot. Now let's, so we wanted to check how the countries have moved in different directions and how much improvement that they have made. So for this, we created this chart where we can see different countries moving in different directions. So for example, Denmark has made quite a lot of improvement, and so did the country Finland. But we can also see some countries going in the opposite direction, which shows that they are increasing the usage of fossil fuel, and hence in turn their pollution index is increasing. There are also some countries that are stagnant from where they were in 1990. So for example, Bangladesh, Qatar, and Kuwait, they did not move in the direction, northeast direction, as they do not have much they do not have any incentive to move towards the renewable resources. So in this graph, we have used filters as in many other graphs. We have created the set of years, initial year and the final year, just to see the direction that the countries have moved in. Now let's look at the table here. We have created new calculated fields to check the measure the improvement score of the countries. This score is calculated using the initial fossil fuel percentage in the countries, and the one in the last year, and initial pollution index and the last pollution index, and we have added them together to create the score, as you can see right here. As you can see right here. Now let's check out how we have used the improvement score in the graph. So here in bar graph, we can see a lot of information right here. The color is changing based on the pollution index. Here we can see the most improved country is Denmark, and followed by it is Iceland and Finland and United Kingdoms. There are several countries which moved in opposite direction, that is the pollution index has increased significantly, and those countries are Taiwan, Pakistan, Norway, and Bangladesh, and some other few countries. Now let's go to our world map. Shangwa?
Okay, for the world map, so we're gonna talk about how pollution index is changed. So from 1990 to 2020, we can see how on Sika darker there is more pollution. We can see pollution is more increasing. Next. Okay. This one is for the Chevron, like 5 main gas company, oil company, how those prices are increasing and decreasing at the same time. And ONSI got increases and the bubble bigger, and ONSI got increases and the bubble got smaller. Next. And so there's a box plot, and also there's a gasoline price, and we're gonna see how those are different. From 1983, so 1983 to 2020, so ONSI got more blue and more thicker and darker. Gasoline prices got increased. We can see how much gasoline prices are so much increased very quick. Next. And also these are gasoline price trends in each different states. Yeah, we can see those are really, really similar trends except one state, California, but California just a little bit different, but it is actually going, yeah, if there is going, then usually going together or decreasing and decreasing together. For the box plot, so there's a box plot and we can see so many outlier in just 5 outlier in inflation rate and unemployment rate. There's no box outlier, there's no outlier, and there's a 2 outliers in crude oil, and there's a natural gas price, but there's no outlier in natural gas price. Next.
So in this dashboard, we have linked several sheets together. For example, this bubble chart, improvement score, and the world map. We can see as we hover over some countries, for example, Germany, we can see how the country has improved, how much the country has improved in the improvement score graph. And we can see in the bubble graph, visualize the same information in the bubble graph. We can check out some other countries as well, for example, France, and we can see Spain, how is it moving from one direction to other during several years. So now let's go on to our storyboard, where Amar will explain the several historic events that occurred in several points of the dip and peak that we can see in the graph.
In 1978, the prices started increasing because of the Iranian Revolution, and they peaked till about 1980. Next, in 2004, the major Western economies went through a growth phase and the crude oil prices went up. In 2008, there was a major AIG insurance crisis and the world economy entered a very bad recession. In 2010, approximately, things started looking much better with the infusion of a lot of capital. Now I'm going to go to give the historical perspective of the change in prices of crude oil and natural gas from 1970 to 2020. In 1970, there was the Iranian, in 1970, Egypt attacked Israel, and the crude oil prices initially started going up from $2 to what it is today, and OPEC was formed. In 1980, President Reagan took over the presidency and the American hostages were immediately released by Iran. And that is time the crude oil prices again went going up because the world economy entered a growth phase. In 1982, or 80, approximately 1982-83, Saudi Arabia decided to set off a price war aimed at preserving and boosting the kingdom's share of the global oil market. This went on continuing and it ended in approximately 1985. Next, in 2004, the major Western economies went through a growth phase, and again the crude oil prices went up. In 2008, we had the AIG insurance crisis and the crude prices declined because of a major worldwide recession. Sharna, you can take over now.
All right. So in the next storyboard, we can see the same dashboard that we have explained earlier, and it shows a lot of information as we have discussed earlier. Now let's, Shangwa will take over the conclusion part.
Okay, in conclusion, crude oil price inflation is increased and unemployment rate is also increased together, and use of renewable energy sources has resulted in significant decrease in their pollution index, and the use of fossil fuels resulting in a large pollution index. Another conclusion we found out, historically, major geopolitical events has impact on crude oil prices, influencing major economic parameters such as inflation and unemployment rate. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.